Welcome to The Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. In the middle of this month, SolarWind's Orion platform, a Texas computer technology company, was widely hacked. The Orion platform was a widely used network in the U.S. military, government, and large enterprises, so this hacking was no trivial matter. Many sensitive departments were involved. Some U.S. professionals called this the digital Pearl Harbor. Previously, many U.S. officials stated it was conducted by Russian hackers, but President Trump hinted that the Chinese Communist Party might be the culprit. On December 25th, in an interview, John Mills, former senior cybersecurity expert at the U.S. Department of Defense, said that SolarWind's cyber attack was led by the CCP. However, he did not rule out Russia as a secondary player involved in some way. As you may know, when Obama was in office, the U.S. Office of Personnel Management was attacked by the Chinese hackers. That led to the leak of the CIA's network of agents in China, which was then destroyed by the CCP. This is to say that the CCP cyber attack could have very severe consequences. This is something that must be taken seriously. The Nashville Christmas explosion also occurred on the 25th. According to the U.S. online media, National Archives, the most seriously affected building, in fact, not only had an AT&T, but also a company called SunGard, which is a data center. Before 2015, SunGard and the SolarWind company all belonged to the same parent company, Silver Lake. This information put another layer of mystery to the whole explosion case. There were many mysteries regarding this incident that hadn't been solved. Let's talk about a few of them here. There is another suspicious point. Attorney Linwood tweeted on the afternoon of the 27th. He shared two photos showing the explosion on 2nd Avenue in Nashville. It looked like a battlefield, a scene of ruin. Linwood questioned how a car bomb had such destructive power. There's another video circulating on the internet. It may answer Linwood's question. The person who shared this video said that it was captured by a local monitor. It showed that before the explosion, there was a fraction of white smoke above the scene, which looked like a missile or some kind of direct energy weapon. So some American netizens said this was a missile attack, or maybe it was a direct energy weapon attack that targeted the electronic equipment in the building. But no one knows, even now, what was inside the building that required such a level of attack. There were speculations that accompanied the discussion of this missile attack. They argued that the actual location of the explosion was not the same location as the white SUV, and that it was different from where the FBI announced the explosion occurred. There was also some observant people who found flaws. They said the picture of the suspect's white SUV released by the FBI is different from the one released by the police. You could tell from the marks on the vehicle and exhaust fan. So these comments all pointed to the guess that the explosion may not be a simple car explosion. It may have other causes, such as a missile. Of course, if you said that the explosion may not be caused by only one car, I would be able to more or less accept it, but the missile speculation is a bit of a stretch, at least for the time being, before more evidence comes out. Assuming the missile was from abroad, the United States has a relatively strong defense system, not to mention that Nashville is still a large city or in the middle of the United States. If a foreign missile was launched, it would be really strange for there to be no headlines about it in the media. Who would do it if a U.S. domestic missile was fired? Who would even dare? Even if that were the case, there should be a long combustion trace on that day, but we did not see any evidence of that, and there is only that single video clip for reference. So at least for now, until we have more evidence to prove it was a missile attack, I will have my reservations. However, the explosion did cause widespread communication disruptions. This really needs to be investigated, for it might be some kind of early threat to the U.S. Internet and phone signals were disrupted on a large scale. This poses a direct threat to the security of the United States. Since the explosion occurred at a critical moment during the U.S. election, many people believe there may be relations between the two. Before Christmas, President Trump's attorney Giuliani said that starting after Christmas, this is really going to blow up and would shock the whole country. Soon after this explosion happened, on Christmas Day, attorney Linwood also tweeted, "It is time to shine the red-hot light of truth on Chief Justice John Roberts, Justice Stephen Breyer, Joe Biden, Obama, Clinton, Bill Gates, VP Mike Pence, Mark Meadows, Pat Cipollone, Bush 41 and 43, George Soros, and Cocaine Mitch." Also on Christmas Day, an American media personality, Stu Peters, said, "I'm on the phone getting a detailed account of events from Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport from the night of November 7th. Cannot believe my ears. I have documents, videos, photos, and audio recordings that will prove illegal ballots were on planes. On the same day, Gateway Pundit reported that President Trump told White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows to inform his White House staff to ignore a previous memo about packing for departure from the White House. This shows that President Trump has confidence that he will win back the election. Will President Trump really take special action between Christmas and January 20th? This is still only speculation among netizens. What President Trump has publicly said is he wants the American people to do is to rally in Washington on D.C. on January 6th or call their local legislators and pressure them to challenge the results of the election. Now, even in Canada, supporters of President Trump are organizing. They're organizing rallies and car parades in front of the U.S. consulate in Toronto for January 3rd and the 6th. The associated Facebook group is called Canada for Trump. As we know, after the general election, people in many countries around the world held pro-Trump rallies. We can see that President Trump is not only supported in the U.S., but also around the whole world. According to the 29th annual poll conducted by Gallup, President Trump is the most admired man in America, outperforming Barack Obama, who has held the position for 12 consecutive years. Fortunately, it has changed a bit this year. Otherwise, I would have thought that the Gallup polls were conducted by the Obama family themselves. Now, don't think that the poll results are boring. They are quite informative. We know that according to public results, Biden got 81 million popular votes this year, and President Trump got 74 million. If Biden received so many votes, how come he's not the most admired man? How come it is President Trump? President Trump is still confident about challenging the general election results. In the evening of December 29th, he even urged the Supreme Court to take on a controversial election case in Wisconsin, where more than 221,000 votes have been proven to be faulty, and President Trump wanted the Supreme Court to disqualify them. In Wisconsin, President Trump is currently 21,000 votes away from Biden, and if that many votes are invalidated, then Wisconsin will need a re-election. The previous Texas versus 4 states case was not taken up by the Supreme Court, and the Pennsylvania case filed by President Trump's team was postponed by the Supreme Court to January 22nd for retrial. As of today, the Supreme Court has not responded to President Trump's latest initiative. Similarly, the Pennsylvania House of Representatives found that the total number of votes casted in this state exceeded the number of voters by about 200,000. This is significant and an obvious problem. If taken seriously by the judicial system, the state legislature or Congress, it would be enough to nullify Pennsylvania's already certified results and allow for a re-election. U.S. Newsweek reported that President Trump's advisor and loyal ally Roger Stone met with President Trump this past weekend after he was pardoned to discuss strategies on how to help President Trump get re-elected. Many of you may be thinking, there isn't much more that will happen with the U.S. election, but in reality, it may be going towards a climax now. As for us, the most important thing to do is stand by on the side of goodness and support the righteous actions. On December 28th, the New York Post reported that the computer repair shop owner John Paul Mac Isaac, who exposed the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in October, is suing Twitter for defamation. He accused Twitter for defaming his business by claiming that he hacked the information, which damaged his business and reputation, and resulted in him receiving personal threats. He is seeking $500 million in damages and a public retraction from Twitter. But the U.S. District Court judge quickly dismissed the case on Monday, ruling that the court lacks subject matter jurisdiction. However, judge said that the lawsuit could be refiled if proper jurisdiction is established. We all know at the time Twitter claimed that the source of the Biden laptop scandal reported came from a hacker attack. So Twitter used this excuse to delete the post and the accounts that spread the news. But Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey later admitted during a congressional hearing that it was a wrong decision. But the consequences of this wrong decision went to Mac Isaac. But the damage has been done to the public's right to free speech and to the election results. There are people saying this lawsuit comes just at the right time because Congress is debating whether to eliminate the Section 230 Act. Now, Section 230 Act allows these technology companies or giants to moderate the content by removing posts for so-called good faith reasons. In other words, these technology giants such as Google and Twitter are not held liable for the content their users post and how they moderate it. But this also means they can control public opinion at will. So are they now a publisher or a platform? To a certain extent, what Twitter and other social media platforms are doing is similar to the propaganda department of the Chinese Communist Party. They employ a lot of so-called fact-checkers, which is like the Chinese Communist Party's internet police. They only allow one opinion and have one unified voice. Such a thing must be stopped in the United States. It is a perfect timing for the computer repair shop owner to sue Twitter, as it can bring these issues to public attention. The $500 million is a punitive demand. It serves more as a representative action. This piece of information is also a sensitive issue in mainland China. Since China does not have a Section 230 to protect big technology companies, theoretically, people can sue them, but it would be very frightening and a daring action. They don't want such news to spread in China. The Chinese Communist Party relies on these big technology companies to help them censor public opinion. If this lawsuit wins in U.S. courts, then this also means Chinese individuals and groups in North America can sue WeChat, Weibo, and TikTok. WeChat and TikTok have many users in the United States, and their censorship is even more intense. So do they have the jurisdiction or not? You can imagine what would happen to these Chinese companies in the United States. In a statement released December 28th, Pennsylvania Republican State Representative Russ Diamond reported his findings that Pennsylvania received 200,000 more ballots than the number of people who voted. By comparing data from Pennsylvania counties, Russ Diamond found that Pennsylvania received more than 6.96 million votes in this year's general election. However, in Pennsylvania voter registration database, only 6.76 million voters actually voted in Pennsylvania this year. There were more than 200,000 more votes than voters. This is the latest in a series of statistical analyses that had confirmed Pennsylvania's election data is suspicious. Although similar data are emerging, state legislators have not rejected the election results in their own states on this basis, and courts at all levels have dismissed lawsuits on technical grounds such as litigation procedures. This has led many President Trump supporters to develop evidence fatigue, feeling the evidence is worthless and being pessimistic about the future. Even the New York Post, which has always been considered supportive of President Trump, published a front-page editorial on December 27th, calling on President Trump to not continue investigating election fraud, as the investigation could not produce any substantial evidence, and continuing on would lead to devastating consequences. The editorial called on President Trump to give up the idea of fighting for re-election and instead focus on using his influence to support the January 5th Georgia Senate runoff and helping the two Republican senators win the re-election. Preserving the Senate would mean preserving President Trump's political legacy. The editorial also says the New York Post supports President Trump and that these proposals are for President Trump's benefit. Now, I personally doubt that the New York Post is still a President Trump supporter, especially since they basically changed their position since November 3rd, just like Fox News. Now, it is possible that they're being pressured or bought out by a major consortium. And President Trump's staff also suggested that President Trump should preserve the majority in the Senate, asking President Trump to compromise. Once President Trump concedes defeat, there is no hope, no chance of defending fairness in the U.S. electoral system. If he takes a step back, it will be a disaster. The morale must be preserved. For President Trump, his team must focus wholeheartedly on election fraud, dig deeper, and reveal the truth to the public. Whether or not President Trump can be reelected comes down to whether the truth about election fraud can be dug up and exposed. The American public should go digging because this is not President Trump's responsibility alone. This is about defending the U.S. electoral system, not just about who is being elected. I urge all patriots to take responsibility and assist Trump. Please share all your findings in the comments section. I will be thoroughly going through everyone's research. The New York Post, on one hand, discourages President Trump, and on the other hand, misleads the public to cause confusion between right and wrong. I think it's a partisan battle of interest, and saying things like, as long as President Trump keeps the Republican Party on track, there's still room for a turnaround. The party will be able to build up its strength and come back 4 years later. These ideas bury the public's conscience between right and wrong in this election, and if President Trump is misled by them, it will be even more tragic. In addition, New York Post seems to encourage President Trump to preserve his political legacy. But the truth of the matter is, if President Trump loses this election due to theft, this political legacy they are encouraging to preserve will not even exist. If President Trump loses the battle, the entire United States loses this war between good and evil. Now, that's it for today, my friends. Make sure to like and share, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.